Okay, here's some notes on Meilah 13a. First, we ran into consecrated a cistern full of water. So that was an example where it was fit for temple maintenance, not for sacrifice. So regarding the cistern, if I search that on Blue Letter Bible, you'll see it's in 4 verses, like Proverbs 5:15. Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Or in 2 Kings 18:31, drink ye every one the waters of his cistern. Ecclesiastes 12:6. Or ever the silver cord be loosed, or the golden bowl be broken, or the pitcher be broken at the fountain, or the wheel broken at the cistern. And in Isaiah 36:16, hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present, and come out to me, and eat ye every one of his vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one the waters of his own cistern. So again, Proverbs 5:15, drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. And if you search the plural, cisterns, Jeremiah 2:13, for my people have committed 2 evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. This is an example of a cistern from the first temple period, about 3,000 years ago. This here is a 1,500-year-old cistern that was found under a Jerusalem playground. Cisterns hold water. And here's another look at the 1,500-year-old cistern found in Jerusalem. The New Testament was written at about 100 AD, completed. And you see here, only water from the Siloam pool is used for the altar. So it's interesting that in John 9:7 in the New Testament, and said unto him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is by interpretation sent. He went his way, therefore, and washed and came seeing. And John 9:11, he answered and said, a man that is called Jesus made clay, and anointed mine eyes, and said unto me, go to the pool of Siloam and wash. And I went and washed, and I received sight. They actually think in 2004 that they found the pool of Siloam near the city of David, right? According to the Gospel of John, it was this site that Jesus healed the blind man. So this pool dates from the Second Temple period. That's what it looks like. So when it says here that only water from the Siloam pool is used for the altar, that's probably the pool they're talking about. The next item is this idea of a dovecote full of pigeons. This is a dovecote or pigeon house from Iran. Oxwich Castle, South Wales. That's a dovecote from Oxwich Castle. And this here is an ancient dovecote near Rome. This one, Isfahan, Iran, a pigeon house. An Arabian pigeon house. See the bird sticking out. In Netherlands, France. It's in this one's in Mazer, Israel, dovecote. This one's built in 1638. Basically a pigeon house or a dove house. 1730 in Scotland. Another one in the United Kingdom. This one in England. This is in Louisiana. Iran. Spain. Scotland. United States. Another one from another place. Estonia from 1869. So there's all different types of pigeon houses. So what's the difference between a pigeon and a dove? Why is a pigeon house called a dovecote? As it turns out, there isn't a difference. The words came from different languages, and there is no difference between a pigeon and a dove in scientific nomenclature. The difference boils down to linguistic traditions. So a pigeon and dove are considered the same thing here. So when they say if one consecrated a dovecote full of pigeons, those are some examples of what a dovecote, different dovecotes look like. Now, what is it about a field full of grass? So if I search grass, for example, in Deuteronomy 11:15, and I will send grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. So the perspective here is that grass is for cattle. Or 1 Kings 18:5, and Ahab said unto Obadiah, go into the land unto all fountains of water, and unto all brooks, peradventure we may find grass, to save the horses and mules alive, that we lose not all the beasts. Okay, grass for the horses and for the mules. Job 6:5, doth the wild ass bray when he hath grass, or loweth the ox over his fodder? And Job 40:15, behold now Behemoth, which I made with thee, he eateth grass as an ox. Psalm 104, verse 14. He causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. So again, grass is thought of as being for cattle. Psalm 106:20. Thus they changed their glory into the similitude of an ox that eateth grass. Jeremiah 50, verse 11. Because ye were glad, because ye rejoiced, O ye destroyers of mine heritage, because ye are grown fat as the heifer at grass, and bellow as bulls. And even of a human being thought of as being brought down to somewhere low, Daniel 4:33, the same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagle's feathers, and his nails like bird claws. So in Meilah 13a, a field full of grass, I think it's meant for animals. Notice a later example: the laborers who are generally permitted to eat the food of their employer may not eat from consecrated dried figs. The first time you see figs is in Genesis 3:7. And the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. In Numbers 13:23, you'll see figs were brought back. It says, and they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch with one cluster of grapes, and they bare it between two upon a staff, and they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. And when an illustration is made using a fig tree, like in Judges 9:10. And the trees said to the fig tree, come thou and reign over us. Or in 1 Kings 4:25, and Judah and Israel dwelt safely, every man under his vine and under his fig tree, from Dan even to Beersheba, all the days of Solomon. Or in Isaiah 34 verse 4, and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll, and their host shall fall down as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a falling fig from the fig tree. Or in Isaiah 36 verse 16, hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by a present, and come out to me, and eat ye every one of his vine, and every one of his fig tree, and drink ye every one the waters of his own cistern. In Hebrew, the word for fig apparently is te'ina. When you see judgment like in Amos 4:9, I have smitten you with blasting and mildew, when your gardens and your vineyards and your fig trees and your olive trees increased, the palmer worm devoured them, yet have ye not returned unto me, saith the Lord. And when good things happen, Micah 4:4, but they shall sit every man under his vine and under his fig tree, and none shall make them afraid, for the mouth of the Lord of hosts hath spoken it. Or Nahum 3:12, all thy strongholds shall be like fig trees with the first ripe figs. If they be shaken, they shall even fall into the mouth of the eater. Even in the New Testament, Matthew 21, starting in verse 18, now in the morning as he returned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it, and found nothing thereon, but leaves only, and said unto it, let no fruit grow on thee henceforward forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Jesus answered and said unto them, Verily I say unto you, if ye have faith, and doubt not, ye shall not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if ye shall say unto this mountain, Be thou removed, and be thou cast into the sea, it shall be done. And all things whatsoever ye shall ask in prayer, believing, ye shall receive. In Matthew 24:32, Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender, and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is nigh. So likewise ye, when ye shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say unto you, this generation shall not pass, till all these things be fulfilled. Matthew 24:35. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. Matthew 24:36. But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Or in John 1:47, Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him, and saith of him, Behold an Israelite indeed, in whom is no guile. Nathanael said unto him, Whence knowest thou me? Jesus answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under the fig tree, I saw thee. Notice it was a fig tree. Nathanael answered and said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. Jesus answered and said unto him, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under the fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. And he saith unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. And in James chapter 3, where he talks about the tongue, and in James 3:11, doth a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? James 3:12, can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries? Either a vine figs. So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. James 3:13, who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness and with meekness of wisdom. And in Revelation 6:12, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And Revelation 6:13, and the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Revelation 6:14, And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. So when you see they mention consecrated dried figs for the that the laborers may not eat, figs figure prominently in the scriptures. Okay, it said, with regard to animal tithe, the verse states, whatsoever passes under the rod, Leviticus 27:32. Leviticus 27:32. And concerning the tithe of the herd, or of the flock, even of whatsoever passeth under the rod, the 10th shall be holy unto the Lord. And in Meilah they said, with regard to the animal tithe, and then with regard to the firstborn offering, it is stated, and you shall cause to pass all that opens the womb to the Lord. And it says that's Exodus 13:12. In the King James Bible, Exodus 13:12 says, that thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, and every firstling that cometh of a beast which thou hast, the male shall be the Lord's. So in Leviticus 27:32, that term passeth is abar.
Strong's H 5674.
Aver. So in Exodus 13:12, aver is found at the beginning, where thou shalt set apart is also in Meilah 13a interpreted as pass. And then in this section where it's talking about milk, from the case of a firstborn offering, with regard to sacrificial animals, the verse states, when a bullock or a sheep or a goat is born, it shall be 7 days under its mother. Leviticus 22:27. Okay, in the King James Bible, Leviticus 22:27. When a bullock or a sheep or a goat is brought forth, then it shall be 7 days under the dam, and from the 8th day and thenceforth it shall be accepted for an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And in Meilah, and in the case of the firstborn offering, it is stated, 7 days it shall be with its mother. Exodus 22:29. But you see that reference is wrong. Exodus 22:29 says, thou shalt not delay to offer the first of thy ripe fruits and of thy liquors. The firstborn of thy sons shalt thou give unto me. Exodus 22:30 is the right one. Exodus 22:30. Likewise shalt thou do with thine oxen and with thy sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam. On the 8th day thou shalt give it me. So in Meilah 13a, that should be Exodus 22:30. And the case that we thought was pretty clear, the Gemara does not ask about the source of the halakha of a laborer. As the verse clearly states in this regard, when you come into your neighbor's vineyard, Deuteronomy 23:25. Deuteronomy 23:25 actually says, when thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle unto thy neighbor's standing corn. They may pluck the ears with their hand, though. All right, and he says, what is the reason for the ruling with regard to a cow? And they use, do not muzzle the ox during its treading, Deuteronomy 25:4. Deuteronomy 25:4 says, thou shalt not muzzle the ox when he treadeth out the corn. We also see in the first century that term muzzle was used in the New Testament. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 9. For it is written in the law of Moses, thou shalt not muzzle the mouth of the ox that treadeth out the corn. Doth God take care for oxen? And in 1 Timothy 5:18, for the scripture saith, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. It says the term its treading teaches that this prohibition applies to muzzling an ox. So if you look, when he treadeth out is the word
Strong's H 1758. First century. Douche. Douche.
So it's this word douche, which means to tread out or thresh. In 1 Corinthians 9:9, that treadeth out the corn, that's this word here.
Strong's G 248. Ala'ao. Ala'ao.
And it means to, one time, it says it means to thresh. Yeah, so in fact, treading, it looks like it might be threshing. I'm not so sure that implies non-sacred. Now backing up a little bit, we saw, or if one consecrated a tree full of fruit, as the fruit is fit for the altar, whereas the tree is not fit even for temple maintenance. If you look in Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 19, and also verse 20. All right, verse 19. When thou shalt besiege a city a long time, in making war against it to take it, thou shalt not destroy the trees thereof by forcing an axe against them, for thou mayest eat of them, and thou shalt not cut them down, for the tree of the field is man's life, to employ them in the siege. And verse 20, only the trees which thou knowest, that they be not trees for meat, thou shalt destroy and cut them down, and thou shalt build bulwarks against the city that maketh war with thee until it be subdued. So that is why I think they do not think the tree itself is fit for temple maintenance, but you can have the fruit of it. The fruit of it is fit for the altar. Okay, I think that's enough notes on Meilah 13a. Thank you for your time.